Chicago. No,
You can't be in the podcast circle.
I don't know why it does that.
hey, it's okay. Well,
We have a third guest.
dude.
He loves his cameos.
He does.
All right, so yes, this is Patrick Dolan.
Nope.
Him and I used to do YouTube videos with each other called Neighborly Discussions because we were neighbors, and we did movie news like Elijah and I do for History of Popcorn. Him and I also directed. We both directed.
Yeah,
He directed a movie that I wrote called From the Dark, which he's wearing the shirt for. Available on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
And
wow, that was classy.
Oh yeah. And
this is our History of Popcorn's informal introduction to a new format of neighborly discussions where we have Patrick on the show.
Just to give you a little background on me, my name's Patrick Dolan. I grew up in Simi Valley, California. I moved up to Oregon in like 2006, lived here for a while, moved back down. I have loved movies my entire life. I have done nothing but just consume cinema, and I love it on every aspect. And one of the reasons why Justin and I got along so well is because of our love and shared passion of cinema. Mm-hmm. So it's actually an honor for me to appear on your guys' podcast.
Yeah, the way that Patrick and I actually met was after watching Batman v Superman, and we didn't even know we were neighbors. We didn't even know we were at the same bar. I was doing this comedy show. I don't know, we were talking about it, and then after a while we had a mutual friend that was like, "Oh, you finally met your neighbor," and we were both like, "What?" And then the friendship was born.
This is at the bar after the movie. Did you guys see it at the same time?
No.
That would have been funny.
Well, maybe. Who knows?
You're like, wait, what day? You guys both have the ticket stub? Actually,
yeah. Sitting right next to each other. But yeah, that's how it all started, and then I got him to do those neighborly discussions with me.
We did a lot of theater work in the past. Yeah. I've always been a fan of performing and that I think that comes from my history of just loving movies as a child, and especially being a child of the 80s. Yes, I'm 42. I like, to me, like the 80s is like the ultimate decade of cinema. I mean, you got Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Big Trouble in Little China.
Most of those properties I feel like are the properties that cannot be touched or remade or any way. Like if they try to continue stuff like that, can go very poorly because those movies are so perfect, like untouchable. Yeah, they're untouchable. That's like an untouchable era is the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just I remember watching a documentary. I believe it was the making of John Carpenter's The Thing. And it was about Rob Bottin doing his makeup effects for that film. And I remember hearing a phrase that like the thing that makes 80s movies so beautiful and awesome is that artists, directors, screenwriters, special effects artists were trying so hard to get their visions put on the screen with the practical ways that were available to them to fulfill that vision. And now it's just
you just have to
and sometimes it's even AI generated and you just
it's so you like, that's, to me, that's what makes those movies in the 80s like so special.
Way more soul.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's what I was saying. We were talking about that about Steven Spielberg. I mean, not today, but at some point when we were doing the show, that like the way that he used to direct was because the limited amount of stuff that they had, and now they have so much where technology is just taking over their directorial styles, and it's just kind of made them stale.
Well, I don't even necessarily think it's an aspect of them of it taking over their storytelling ability. That's very much falls, I think, on a studio level, where the studio is like, okay, we're not going to build this 16-foot puppet when we can spend half the price and try and make it as real looking as it can be. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's just just it's easier from a business standpoint to deliver films with visual effects rather than practical effects.
Yeah. That's why it's very exciting to see like newer films use practical effects again. You're like, oh yeah.
Have you guys seen Psycho Gorman yet?
I have not seen.
I've heard about this. I'm gonna write
I want to see it.
Oh,
I've heard it's really funny.
It is. I mean, it is the best parts of just your favorite like 80s R-rated practical effect like horror movies. Think of like Tobe Hooper with Life Force, same guy who did Manboard, and he also did the latest remake of the Leprechaun franchise.
The one that
I know.
Leprechaun in the Hood.
Hey, it was
there's a guy,
Patrick.
there's a famous director who's petitioning to get that franchise handed to him. Let me figure out which one it was. It's the guy who's making the new Saw, the one with Chris Rock.
Oh, Spiral. Okay.
Yes, for Spiral. He was doing press for it.
That's a movie.
Yeah, and they just pushed up the movie or the date for that to May 7th.
Yeah, I just read that this morning.
So that's going to be exciting. I'm excited for that one. But that director was like, "Hey, let me do the Leprechaun series," and they're like, "We'll see." And he's like, "Oh, they've never responded to me before." So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Maybe they can get a Jennifer Aniston.
That's your passion project? All right, we'll keep you in mind.
Actually, when we think about doing Leprechaun again, we'll reach out to you. Don't worry.
But yeah, I've loved movies my entire life, and as you can tell from the past 5 minutes, but we're here to talk about a certain cinematic. Would you call it achievement?
I would call it a star on the refrigerator.
Oh, like great job!
Yeah,
like with an apple with a smiley face.
Yes,
that says "Good job, Zack Snyder."
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I like how you question achievement. Like it is because the fact that this movie was made was insane. Like did you like it? We're going to be talking about the Zack Snyder's Justice League fully.
Yes,
and like everything around that. So
I'm not gonna lie, I've probably watched it about 6 times since.
Oh wow, the last person we talked to saw it 5 times. So you beat that.
Brando, our resident Snyder fan.
I will say that last night Justin and I hung out as a league together, and we experienced justice in its grayest form.
Oh yeah.
Zack
Snyder wanted us to watch it like dogs because
like I you know what, I watched it with my dog and he was not interested in the least. So but as far as the movie itself goes, I really think it works very, very well. My 3 main points, I don't know why they cut any of the Cyborg stuff, because that, seeing it as it is now, I that really does anchor the movie. And one scene in particular at the very end, when which I thought the finale was done much better, with the Flash having to run faster than the speed of light to throw Cyborg into the United Mother boxes, and that whole scene worked out so perfectly. And the shot where you see Cyborg's head and the Flash is behind him, it's all slow-mo, like 40% of the movie, and he's coming at him, and then the camera zooms into Cyborg's eye, and boom, you see Victor in his Letterman jacket, which for me, and I'm a huge fan of the comics and all these characters, that is Victor when he felt his most powerful, is when he was football star. And to throw him into that situation like that in the finale, and then have his mother and father and what is supposed to be him, that he just sees right through it and is like, that's not me, that's not the powerful me, that's not the strong me. And to me, that whole finale where he goes in and he actually separates his parents from himself, just really made the movie for me. I mean, it connected on a level that Joss Whedon's cut, I just don't even want to talk about anymore.
No one can ever, whenever they bring up the old version, no one can, they're speechless, because literally I cannot understand how they could cut something so good out.
Yeah,
Like you
poignant.
said, it's just like, I think my only rationale is the studio is like, these are our Cyborg's our smallest character. He's not going to be the lead of the Justice League. But it's like that's my only rationale for thinking that. Otherwise, I don't see why on earth anyone would cut that out, that scene. And the fact that the way you explained it is beautiful too, and it plays out that way. It's just awesome. I love hearing people talk about it like that, and I'm like, because I didn't think
Dolan
of
cut.
Yes,
No.
I would hear the commentary of that and be like, see, now what he's really doing, he's separating from his parents. It's like, but yeah, that the storytelling that Zack Snyder can tell in layers, I think it trumps the length of this movie, like, because I think people know what they're gonna get into when they're watching it. I hope it's good.
I knew that watching Watchmen.
Mhm.
And even watching like the almost 4-hour cut of that with the Black Freighter stuff edited back in, I like, okay, I can see how that won't work, but I see how Zack Snyder was trying to bring this comic to life in a way that made him feel what he felt when he was reading it. And I really feel like he has that passion for these famous DC characters as well. Yes. And it's a shame because the 4-hour cut, while I feel like it would benefit from a lot of the Aquaman stuff being cut, and I only say that because in hindsight, having the Aquaman movie released, a lot of the Aquaman stuff just seems a little too forced. Yet the expansion of Cyborg and Flash works because, again, in hindsight, looking back, we don't have a solo movie for either of them yet. That will, but I think that if they cut a lot of the Aquaman stuff out of the Snyder cut, aside from the Atlanteans being in possession of a mother box, I think it would work a lot better. And I'm not saying replace them with like a Green Lantern or anything like that, but I just think Aquaman can be removed from that film and it would still totally work.
Yeah, because there's a big thing about the mystery of Aquaman throughout the whole film, of like, because he's trying to hide who he is from everyone. Like, none of the other members are trying to hide the way he is, except for Cyborg because he's in that accident. But that's a different scenario. But he's hiding. Aquaman's hiding. So the mystery of Aquaman throughout the whole thing, I feel like I agree that could have been cut until it started to show that it's affecting his world. Then he has to come in. And I feel like the payoff of him saving them in the sewer would have been way more paid off if there was less of him shown. It's like, oh yeah,
absolutely.
Aquaman. And I agree with you, because I was going to talk to you about the Aqua Singers.
Nope. The Aquaman Girls Choir.
Aquaman Girls Choir. Yeah. Did you? I mean, I like what you said about how Zack Snyder portrayed these characters as how he saw them when they were a kid, when he was a kid, because that's how I rationalized it, of them seeing Aquaman as a god, you know?
Yeah.
So they have these like hymns, I would say, maybe about him.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like he hasn't been helping that specific town or city long enough for him to be like a religious figure or a lore.
Yeah, or to be protected so anonymously.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. And I'm just like, I actually, like, after I first watched the cut when it premiered last Thursday, I actually had to go online and I looked up some mythology on Atlantis and everything. And there are stories of the women of Atlantis like singing off their heroes and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make sure like that's what he was going.
It was coming from somewhere.
And I got it, but as soon as Bruce Wayne walked away, they didn't need to cut back to the main girl like sniffing Aquaman's sweater, like
probably smells like fish.
Like, I'm just like,
Yeah, I feel like more often than not, when we mention that scene to people, we're gonna be like, I get it, but it didn't.
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I like the whole interaction in that beginning scene, I thought was played much better.
Mhm.
And I thought the payoff where the old man in the bar, the tavern, was like, get him out of here. And like Arthur goes up and is like, you need to leave. And then Bruce just speaks to him in the language. I don't think so. And that worked so much better. And that brings me to one of my other big talking points about the Snyder cut. They removed all that horrible comedy. Like, like when Aquaman is about to swim off and he's like, a strong man is stronger alone. And like in Joss Whedon's cut, he's like, that's not what it is. That's not what it means at all. Yeah. And in this, he's like, have you ever heard of Superman? He fought dying like it just, it seems like, when we first heard of the Justice League movie, everybody was like, oh, they're going to force Zack Snyder to make it more like the Avengers. They're going to force Zack Snyder to make it more like the Avengers. And he never wanted it to be the Avengers. He wanted it to be more mythological. He wanted it to be larger than life. I still don't think that's an excuse for a 4:3 aspect ratio, but seeing the cut now, I get what he was going for. And what they did was Warner Brothers basically took the movie from him and tried to turn it into the Avengers. All these horrible comedic lines, like when Aquaman is doing his whole air battle, which is like a terrible scenario to introduce a major Aquaman action scene in the air. Okay,
that's what he does all the time. Okay, sure.
Yeah, right. But like he falls. And in Whedon's cut, like Cyborg picks him up and he's like, ride's not over yet, my man. And then you see it in the Snyder cut and he's like, I got you. All right. Like, it doesn't, I guess when you say it like that, it still sounds shitty.
But no, it's
in the
action.
context of the whole movie.
It's in action, so it doesn't slow the movie down in a way that like
it doesn't take you out of it. Like, ride ain't over yet. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Fast and the Furious movies, but leave those types of lines of dialogue to those movies. Don't put it in a Justice League movie. Yes. I'm sorry, I'm venting.
I don't understand the Flash sequence that you're talking about when he goes back in time is what I watched that scene so many times now. That scene made me tear up because it made the scene with the dialogue with his dad earlier way more worth it.
Oh yeah, Dad, I'm gonna just remember, I'm gonna be one of the ones. I'm about to cry right now.
It's literally that dialogue in that was paid off in full force because of the scene that he had with Billy, the actor who plays his dad.
Which unfortunately he cannot portray him in the movie, scheduling wise, but I think Ron Livingston is a decent replacement.
I think he's decent, but it broke my heart after seeing the extended version of the scene that he did with Ezra Miller. And I was
where Billy Crudup did any of the real acting in the movie?
Yeah, I was like, this is insane. Like, I can't believe they even reduced this. Like, the whole like stepping, all the front steps I feel like of this movie are and should be Flash and Cyborg, of course, because they're the new members, and because we saw Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman last movie, and Aquaman in the tapes. But I like the mystery of Aquaman, so I still agree with you that less Aquaman is better.
Because it makes his movie pay off more.
Exactly,
like, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I wonder what Aquaman was before the whole like DC thing happened, because I'm sure it wasn't as cheesy.
I'm sure they added. I think they wanted more color, of course.
Yeah,
they definitely took the Whedon color coordination to the Aquaman movie. But I like James Wan.
Same thing with Wonder Woman 1984. They made that a lot brighter.
Oh, the less said about that movie, the better. I'm sorry. And but I don't want to get into Wonder Woman too much. I want to like touch on one scene in particular that I feel was the most improved in this entire movie.
For Justice League,
yes, is Superman versus the League. once he's resurrected.
Mm-hmm.
That entire scene is just so much more understanding, like to have the military interject and start shooting them, and and having like Bruce like plead with him, Clark. I love the addition of Alfred using Themyscira technology to make the guard gauntlets on Batman. I thought that was great.
It's way better than the version they had in the original when he gets hit and he's like, "Oh, I'm definitely bleeding." He gets hit with the car. Because Justin and I talk about this so often about how the Joss Whedon cut probably destroyed Ben Affleck, because he would come in for hours on a day, because set days are incredibly long for the reshoot. He'd come in and just be like, "Oh, that hurts," after doing all that golden dialogue already. Like, of course, yeah, it makes me realize
just imagine
how upsetting it is to go through that.
Yeah, just imagine going into work, having to put on the entire bat suit that probably takes like 2 hours just to fucking lay down on the ground and just be like, "Oh yeah, something's bleeding."
And that's not even the worst of it, but like he's got to wake up in the morning, probably have 40 paparazzi at his front door taking pictures of his Dunkin' Donut delivery, and then he has to go put like an 80-pound Batman suit on,
and then wait while they set up shots, like everything. It's just other scenes, like it's just so much work for movies. And yeah, that because they reshot like 80% of it just to shorten every single sequence and cut off every single thing that was going to lead into something else.
Yeah,
they cut off every trail end. Is ridiculous.
And just the whole like the color grading they did, as you spoke of earlier, Elijah, the Whedon color, like they just made it. It looks like they were like, okay, so we're not going to use all of Zack's footage. We're going to bring in Joss Whedon. He did Avengers, so this is like there's nothing to lose here, and we're going to color code it. And I like, as a filmmaker, and I'm not calling myself a filmmaker because I've only done one, but coming from Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, like that's when you step away from a project for the reasons that he stepped away from the project, and then the studio that had so much faith in you in building this franchise just brings in this other cross-franchise director to come in, and you have 6 hours of footage, and he takes your script and rewrites 70% of it and then refilms it and doesn't use any of that shit. That would break my heart.
Yeah,
that would destroy me.
Yeah.
And so just to get a little bit into the whole online thing about the Snyderverse and everything, it's like I love a lot of shitty movies, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I mean, Justin and I have done like dance routines to Walter Hill's Streets of Fire, which is a brilliant movie if you've never seen it. But no, it's disheartening, because I think Warner Brothers, if they had just been patient, and I know the movie business means billions of dollars for people, but if they just would have been patient, let him take the time off he needed, and what is it, 3.5 years later, and we have a movie that is 110 times better than the movie that was released before. Like I get it from a financial perspective, but all these movie studios are saying they really want to encourage people's artistic integrity and their passion and their love of putting things on celluloid, and then they go and do something like this. It's it just doesn't make sense to me. But overall, I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is a fantastic film. I think it's too long. I think it's a little too heavy on the melodrama. And but otherwise, as a DC comic fan, I thought he paid justice to all those characters, especially Cyborg and the Flash.
I understand why.
What would you give it?
Out of 5?
Yeah.
3.5 by far. Yeah.
Right.
Where the original would get 2, and only it gets to because I just love these characters and I love seeing them interpreted in different formats. I'm sorry, mediums. And that's the only reason it got a 2. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is a 3.5 out of 5. I would even maybe go as far to say 4 if they removed about a half hour of slow motion.
There's we found out the statistic that it's 10% of the film is in slow motion, which means 27 minutes of the movie is actually in slow motion.
Right? Isn't that that's fucking terrible?
Yeah, no, that can't be possible. That doesn't. I've watched the movie 6 times.
It's
There's
only
way more than 27 minutes of slow motion in that movie.
It feels like it doesn't. Apparently, it is. That's what they're
that's
saying. 10% of it's shot in slow motion.
My favorite, like, slow motion shot of that entire movie was Wonder Woman throwing the briefcase up.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and that's another scene that I thought was much better presented. With editing. And I know some people have been complaining about how violent it is, you know, and then
they're going to try to get that complaint
again.
This is a different. This is the Snyder.
Yeah, I just think it's like I mean, you're watching a movie about mythological comic book superheroes, and you want to nitpick about certain things. But I heard somebody say that, like, okay, so she just killed all these dudes and turns around to a little girl and says, you can be whatever you believe yourself to be.
Yeah.
And I get it. And Darkseid. That's
I was surprised. Was there any Darkseid in the old one?
Nope.
Absolutely none. Just that one Omega symbol, right?
Yeah, but like I'm not sure, you might have noticed like a lot of the Darkseid war scenes with from the past with the Zeus and the lanterns, they just redid for Whedon's cut as Steppenwolf in his shoes. So there are very like the exact same shot in both of those backstory, a lot less gory, but in Zack Snyder's cut, it's Darkseid. In Whedon's cut, it's Steppenwolf. And that's another thing. I don't know what they were trying to do with the CG on his face.
Yeah, me and Justin were talking about that. We were like, since they took away all of his actual backstory that they had to actually explain or let people know, they made him try to humanize him by giving him like face. That's their only rationale. I feel like they could have is like, we'll feel bad for him if he kind of looks like us.
Right, exactly. And then you hear that dialogue and you hear him pleading to be accepted back to his home world. And it just creates so much more motivation for his character. And it makes a good cause to actually have Darkseid in the script. I thought everything about the movie was vastly improved. I've watched it 6 times. I'm never bored. Even though it's 4 hours long, I feel it's paced very well.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the chapter breaks really help because, you know, you can see like chapter 3 pop up and you're like, okay, I'm going to go make lunch real quick, you know? So you don't feel like you're necessarily pausing a movie right in the middle. It's, you know, it kind of acts as like a mini series. And I wish ultimately that Warner Brothers would have had more faith and patience in waiting for Zack Snyder to deliver what he ultimately did.
I love this one made me like Ezra Miller's Flash though. Like I didn't like him previously before.
See, I know this guy has some issues with
I have issues with him.
Ezra Miller's performance. And I will say this, there is one scene in Snyder's cut where I feel Ezra Miller is phenomenal. And it's a very small scene where Victor is you don't know it right then, but he's trying to fix Batman's plane for them to go do the finale. And then like it just cuts to Aquaman and the Flash. And this was my favorite Aquaman scene in the movie. And Arthur asks him, is he okay? And Ezra's just sitting there eating. And he's like, he's been through a lot. His dad just died. I mean, there was just something about the delivery of that line from him that made it seem like that's Barry Allen.
Yeah, because he's he's the one who's going like he's the fast one, but he slows down to
Yep.
notice that someone's grieving. It's like, well, yeah, he sees that stuff, and
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely. And I thought that was so brilliantly portrayed. And then it goes back, and Aquaman's telling him, like, you know, well, yeah, you know, we're asking him to go into battle after he just lost his father, and the Flash is like, I thought you didn't care, and he's like, I never said that. And I'm like, those are those small little talky moments you want between your Justice League characters, not Aquaman accidentally sitting on Wonder Woman's rope being like, I want to save the world, and oh, you're beautiful, you're tripping over your own feet, you're dressed as a bad blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like
I forgot that cop out happened. I was like, wow.
it's just so, it feels so much more I don't want to say I'm at a loss for words, and maybe that's what the Snyder cut is. Maybe it is something that was brought on by the passion of a lot of fans, a lot of them being assholes, but it still got made. And it's just a testament to not only how movies, not a testament, but it's a viewfinder for regular audiences to see the process of how a movie can potentially be different in one stage of production and completely something else when it's released. And if anything, this whole debacle about, you know, and now they're saying restore the Snyderverse, and I'm like, quit while you're ahead, guys. Come on, like, we got something.
I mean, yeah, I can see that it's already getting a lot of traction worldwide, but I can see how there's
Flash is still being made. Like,
yeah, and that's gonna reboot everything for sure.
Yeah. Well, I love what Andy Muschietti did with the It films. One? Yeah, together. I think it's brilliant, and I've just recently reread the novel twice. So,
yeah, I was a fan of them, and me and Justin are on different spectrums. Like, I read the book too, and I like the new one. I don't like the second one as much, but I like them. Because you can't go wrong with Bill Hader. Bill Hader was the best casting.
Oh my god!
Of course.
But they I feel like they could have done it better. There were some parts I didn't like about how they were doing it, but hey, the casting is good, and that was all I needed. I was like,
yeah, exactly. And that's almost the same thing with Justice League. Like, I mean, the casting was really good, I thought. And I just don't. It's so weird that we're here right now, but I want to bring it back to the Flash real quick. I feel like Andy Muschietti is going to do something really, really unique with the Flash, because I mean, you know, people are screaming for the Snyderverse, and there are other filmmakers out there trying to continue with the characters that he introduced, but yet they're shitting on them because it's not Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I have mad respect for Andy Muschietti, and I'm excited for what the Flash is going to do.
Exactly, and I'm actually excited to see what David, what's his name, does with Shazam 2.
David F. Sandberg.
Yes, I like him, which I thought Lights Out was. I'm not. When I talk about horror movies, I love my horror movies like R-rated and really rough. But I thought what David Sandberg did with Lights Out was phenomenal.
Did you see the short film that's based on?
What's that?
Did you see the short film that was based on that he made on YouTube? That was the first time I saw him. It was a viral video of a short film that he made with his wife. That's how he got started. He still makes short films on YouTube. He goes by Pony Smasher. I would check him out. He still makes short films with his wife. But that's how it started. That's how the studio found him, was this short film and they're like, make this, but full length. So he made Lights Out.
Nice.
And it's basically that same concept, but it's really good. It's like 2009 or something.
And despite, I thought Aquaman as a film, I thought, for me, I just thought it was too, this is going to sound very disrespectful, but flashy. Does that, no pun intended, honestly.
Flash.
I don't know. It just seemed I love James Wan. I think he's made some fantastic films, and I love Aquaman. I think it's, as a standalone film, it's really good. I think the acting's good, but I thought it was good, and I'm really looking forward to a second Aquaman, a second Shazam. So I don't like the universe that Zack Snyder started is not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's just not
He's
going.
just not gonna be maybe directing them, but who knows? Because we got the Snyder cut, and it got 1.8 million views in the first 5 minutes of release.
Wow.
On HBO Max. 1.8 million people hit play at 12:01.
That's wild.
In 5 minutes, 1.8 million people started that movie.
That's
So
crazy.
who knows what's going to happen?
That's like, wow. I don't know if he will be returning just because of how exhausting this whole thing was for him, you know? And I feel like this was like a good send-off in a way. But like you said, yeah, the Snyderverse is not over. Like all those actors are still there, and who knows what they'll do with Cyborg. I feel bad for Cyborg, the actor. Yeah, he's on very bad terms with the studio now, isn't he?
He was originally supposed to be in the Flash movie.
Yeah, it was gonna be like
and he was totally cut out of it because he came forward. And
the studio didn't like it. That's all.
Yeah, and honestly, I have to applaud like Charisma Carpenter and Michelle Trachtenberg and other actors that have come forward in Joss Whedon's past of making all these great things that we have cherished and loved over years, and saying, no, Ray Fisher's right. This guy's an asshole.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the product came out of it. The toxic environment of which it was conceived is not safe.
And the fact that I'm not sure if they refilmed any particular Cyborg scenes for the Whedon version. I'm sure they did some voiceover, obviously, because there's those lines. But it's just he was this movie in my eyes. He was.
There's no other way to see it any other way if you see the Snyder cut. There's no other way. And I'm surprised Joss Whedon did that. He managed to do that.
Yeah. Who's the first person it cuts to when Superman's death cry screams out in the beginning?
Yeah, right. It says
Cyborg sitting at his table.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it's Cyborg right there.
And then he turns and the mother box wakes up. And by the way, that Superman cry, why take that out? That is such a powerful moment and such a great way to open that movie, other than that montage stuff that they did in the Whedon cut. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm nitpicking and at this point. But I honestly loved it. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I hope we get...
No, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry that I said it in front of him.
What did you think of Jared Leto returning?
I thought it was forced.
Me too.
I thought it was fanfare.
Do you think it would have been better if it happened sooner? Or it felt more, because I didn't like that it felt shoehorned at the super end. It's like, what?
Exactly.
Where is this coming from?
It seems like, to me, because what Zack Snyder started in Batman v Superman with that nightmare sequence is that he was going to continue those nightmares throughout.
Yeah.
And then once he got the ability to do his Snyder cut, he realized he didn't have a new nightmare scene. So that's some of the stuff they reshot. And I just feel like he couldn't find a place in the movie itself through the narrative to throw that in there
from Batman's POV. Because at first I was like, Cyborg saw a glimpse for a second, but that's from his point of view, not from Batman's point of view. So it's like, I could have seen it there, but also if you break it down, I've been like, well, why is Cyborg seeing Batman's point of view, sort of thing.
Exactly. And I so getting back to the Joker specifically, I loved the dialogue and the way he was taunting Batman, or perhaps an adopted son, and he's like, you're not being too careful. It's just like that felt like real Batman Joker dialogue when they're forced to have to work together. So the scene itself, I liked. The fact that it's at the end, I think, if anything, why not open the movie with his vision?
That'd be cool. That would have been
And
better.
maybe open the movie with that nightmare vision and have him wake up screaming and then dissolve that scream into Superman's death cry that the movie actually did open with. And I think it would have worked better in that context. But the scene itself, I didn't mind. Its placement in the movie, I thought was, I think they should have done, they shouldn't have done the nightmare scene. I think they should have just done Cyborg putting the tape recorder back together and doing the whole montage of the Justice League separating and Bruce and Diana and Alfred walking into that abandoned building, and a fanboy immediately screams Hall of Justice, you know, so as I did. And
5 times.
I think it would have been perfect there.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry.
Well, so you gave it a 4 out of 5?
Yeah, you know what?
3.5.
You know what? Fuck it. 4.
I gave it a 4, but I feel like they could have cut out a lot of Aquaman, like you said, and I didn't like the placement of the Joker scene, and then a few other things. But yeah, the pacing was really good for it being a 4-hour movie. I was like, wow, holy crap. I did it in one sitting. Didn't feel like one sitting. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I wasn't bored at all.
Yeah.
Like
even
even
entirely different.
After, okay, granted, yes, it's a very different movie, but the basic concept of the, you know, at least Batman and Wonder Woman and Steppenwolf's motivations, ultimately story-wise, you know, it was the same. It played out very much the same, and the resurrecting of Superman. But man, it just so much better realized.
Yeah. Excited about the future and what stories can be told through this, giving hope, because this definitely gave hope to a lot of filmmakers and storytellers in general, being like, the stories that people want to tell are going to matter. And I think Warner Brothers, hopefully, and a lot of other studios are going to be learning from their mistakes of trying to control things that they don't know about. And this was that was a prime example in Hollywood that I think this was a test for other studios to see, or a message, it should be anyway, that you need to trust the creators you're hiring. You guys hired them for a reason and everything. I think they did that with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
They're making another one.
Justin and I were talking about this right before we hopped on the mics. And he has this view that it's just too Guardians looking, and it's like, well, yeah, that's James Gunn. I mean, the dude,
it's just ensemble. That's why.
Yeah, the dude has a knack for bringing together multiple characters and making them work on screen. So of course, it's definitely going to have a similar tone to Guardians, but I think it's going to be a whole nother beast, because I'm a huge fan of 60s, 70s Suicide Squad. And the fact that they have some of the characters in there that they have, like Polka Dot Man and Weasel and King Shark. King Shark is, I think King Shark is gonna be the picture that is plastered on every 6-year-old boy's t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
After that movie comes out.
And voiced by Sylvester Stallone too.
Yes.
And
yeah, I just it feels so much, just in that 2.5-minute trailer, it feels so much more like a true Suicide Squad movie than what David Ayer tried to do. And I'm not discounting David Ayer. He's done some things that I have enjoyed immensely. I think the script for Training Day is awesome. I thought End of Watch was pretty good. I thought Sabotage was a better reintroduction for Arnold Schwarzenegger into cinema after being governor than The Last Stand was.
Oh yeah, The Last Stand was a wild. I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was like, he's back on the screen doing this.
But I just think that James Gunn is gonna nail it.
Yeah, both those movies, because they came out the same year, didn't they? Justice League and Suicide Squad came out the same year.
No, it was Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad came out in 2016, and it was Wonder Woman and Justice League in 2017.
Yeah, I think
it's-
Warner Brothers is. I hope that's. I hopefully Warner Brothers learns their lessons and other studios to trust
Yep.
the people they hire. And this was a prime example in history of the studio showing that they are not the fully competent ones to be the storytelling. Give them the money and
Yeah.
let the artists do what they need to do. It sounds like we liked it and it was an achievement. I would say, you questioned in the beginning, would you say this is an achievement? I would say so. I wouldn't say it's the definitive version of what he would wanted, because I definitely feel like he would have changed things if he were to continue the project with patience. But with the footage he had, I think what he has should have stood on its own from the get-go. Do you have any final thoughts about the actual Justice League?
I'm probably gonna watch it again tonight.
Nice.
Or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Zack Snyder has encouraged multiple viewings. If you want some more anything to come out of this, you have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm just I'm hoping for the Zack Snyder's Justice League Justice's pastel version. Because I really want to see Batman in that light blue. I think it is fantastic that Zack Snyder got to at least do the most with what he could, and what additional funds they gave him to complete his vision of this film. Because on its own, I think it stands way above Whedon's cut. No, you know what? I won't even call it Whedon's cut. I'll call it Warner Brothers cut.
Yeah.
So, but I loved it. I thought it was edited better. The tone was consistent. It wasn't all over the place. And I'm just really happy that I got to see it, because Batman has hands down been one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. And I know a lot of people call Superman a Boy Scout, but I like him too. And just to see a different version of a movie I've already seen that is now what it was supposed to be when I originally saw it, it just makes me so happy. And it has issues. It's not perfect.
No, it's not an 80s movie. That's why. Justice was served. That's true. I agree with you. It's not perfect because it's not an 80s movie, though. That's why.
Yeah, right. Exactly, man. Yeah, dude, everybody can't be Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg. Come on.
Awesome. This is I'm glad you guys are here for this. This was our informal introduction to a new iteration of Neighborly Discussions with Patrick Dolan. We're going to be having him on the show more often than not, I would like to assume, because we value his opinions, and I would like to talk about the film you guys made too. I want to interview you guys about your guys' process through that, and just talk about more films.
We did a movie.
We made a movie?
Yeah.
Was it good? All right.
Neighborly Discussions is coming back.
Hell yeah.